All right, here we go. What's up, everybody? In this video, we're going to be talking about the country of Niger, Africa, essentially falling apart. Currently, at the time of making this video, live stream, and hello everyone who's joining. I'll be posting this as soon as we're done with the live stream. Niger is falling apart. And we'll get into why we're even involved with Niger, what's going on with Niger, and why this is a strategic country for the United States and an ally. So currently what's going on right now is that Niger's government and the Niger military, or the military of Niger, they're done with the president. The president who was elected through a democratic process, like a vote. So currently what's happening is this. The president of Niger is being held hostage, which is never a good thing. You never want any president to be held hostage who's partners with the United States, who backs the president of Niger. And by the way, the United States is not in favor of what's going on right now. So here's the thing. Russia is loving this. The United States is hating this. Here's why we're involved with Niger. First and foremost, we are involved with Niger, Africa, because of what happened in the September 11th attacks 2001. That entire region of Africa, North Central Africa, was infested with Al-Qaeda. And there currently is still a situation going on with ISIS militants, with jihadists, and militant groups who are still trying to overthrow Niger, Mali, and the sub-Saharan area of Africa, if you will. Now, the situation is this. We have about 1,000 U.S. soldiers listed being deployed to Niger as we speak, and right now they are on standby and on restricted access throughout the country. Now, in no way, shape, or form can U.S. troops just go on vacation anywhere they want throughout the country, but they are allowed to do certain things, and they are allowed to go through certain movements. But at the time of making this video, I have just researched and looked up. U.S. troops are on standby and on restricted movement. Now, here's the bad part for Niger, and here's the worst case scenario for the U.S. military and the United States in general, is that we're sort of seeing a Sudan situation where Sudan was starting to start this civil war, and then from there, U.S. troops had to evacuate, U.S. citizens had to evacuate, and the country was left in turmoil. And potentially, possibly, I'm not saying this is going to happen, but this is the pattern of what happens to these African nations who try to overthrow these presidents with no future or any sort of future plans, is that the United States will probably have to leave the country, and the embassies and the people will have to leave Niger. Now, the reason why, again, this is also not good for the United States is because waiting in the shadows, and I've been saying this, and he's on the thumbnail, is Wagner. Wagner and Russian media is already pointing at the fact that every single time the United States operates within an African country, it falls apart. And on the surface level, it looks like that, but this is not necessarily true. And if you missed, I see your comment right there. We are in Niger because it's a strategic position for drone bases, and that was one of the first countries we went into after 9/11. We were using Niger as a home base to start operating drones and special forces to go out and to fight militant groups, and we're still doing that today. Now, Mali has been pushing their militants into Niger, and other surrounding nations where Russia's been operating out of, they've been pushing their militants into Niger. And not necessarily on purpose. What's been happening is that Wagner Group has been doing a successful job in pushing out jihadist militants, and these commando groups out of the countries they're operating out of, because the sole purpose of Wagner, they're there to protect the country they're working in. They're mercenaries. They're bodyguards. That's what they do. And in exchange for a commodity, you get to work with Russia. But Wagner's going to be your middleman. And they've been very successful in Mali to the point where United States is going to stop working with Mali in certain aspects because we can't trust Mali anymore. They're tied in with Russia. And again, I'm going to be posting this video, so if you have questions or comments, it helps the video out a lot if you post your comment after I post the live stream. So thank you everyone for being here. Now, here's the situation. Wagner's been doing so good of pushing militants into Niger because they're pushing them out of their home countries within Africa that Niger is saying, hey, where's the security? What's going on? I thought the United States was here. I thought the military of Niger, you guys were getting the best training ever. You guys are not securing us. You're not protecting us. And when you have a democracy, the president is always going to be the one who takes the blame. So that is why right now the president is being overthrown and they want a new structure or a new power. Something else that's been very detrimental for the United States, and look, I support the United States being there. This is not me pounding on them, but they've been exposed, unfortunately. China and Russia have exposed the United States and how to actually operate within Africa. The United States brings democracy to a country, which is great. I'm all about democracy. I think it's one of the greatest things ever. We're very blessed to have that in the United States. But when all of a sudden you tell this country, you can vote for whoever you want, but nothing is getting done, why would the country like this? We're electing a president who's not doing their job, so obviously they're going to get overthrown. Russia and China, when they go into your country, what they say is, hey, we're going to protect your country. You guys figure it out amongst yourself. Just give us money and we'll make sure you guys are safe. China will build you a university, we'll build you a space station, an academy, some roads. Just give us access to your ports. I don't care who you vote for, just don't touch us. The United States wants to really be involved in all aspects, economic, political, and military. And they've been successful on many campaigns like Nigeria, great partners. But in Niger, it's always been controversial for the United States to be there or still be there with other accidents that have happened throughout the past. And I'm talking about some special forces accidents and so on. But something else I think that's important to mention is that everything seems to be lining up perfectly for Russia, Wagner. And by the way, there's other Russian militant groups who are operating within Africa. It's not only Wagner. Right now in St. Petersburg, Russia, and I'm trying to do this all off the top of my head. In St. Petersburg, Russia, at the time of making this live stream and video, there is an African summit. So look at the perfect timing for this, where Russia is going to start giving free wheat to these countries. In exchange, we're going to be partners and work together. Everything seems to be lining up to exactly what Russia wants. And I keep making this point. President Putin and the Kremlin, they did say they want the Soviet Union back, but they never said where they want the Soviet Union back. For all we know, President Putin and Russia could be actively trying to go into Africa and build up a new Soviet Union or build up a new relationships among Africa, because obviously Russia's realizing there's no way to expand with NATO, especially Finland watching the flanks. Ukraine is backed by NATO. You have Romania, Turkey, and so on. They've sort of been tied down. So it only makes sense that Africa is going to be the next pinpointed combat outpost or the next conquest for Russia to move into Africa. Everything seems to be making sense. And again, I really want you guys to look into, and I've made a video on this, how much Russia's really been boasting about how much wheat and grain they've had this year. Because as we know, the wheat grain deal is not a thing anymore. Russia's going to start attacking and has been attacking ports in Odessa. They're attacking anything that has to do with the grain exports to delegitimize Ukraine. Ukraine feeds over 150 million people a year. A lot of Chinese and a lot of African countries, Afghanistan, and so on. And Russia says, look, we have more grain than they do. Why aren't you working with us? And not only that, we'll protect you guys. So that's sort of what's going on right now in this African summit that's happening currently at the time of making this video in St. Petersburg. Even more crazy is that Mr. Prigozhin is at the summit. Bruh, come on. You don't have to be a CIA agent. You don't have to be a scholar. You just have to be able to realize what's happening. Now, Niger destabilizing, I'm not saying this is going to be the end of everything and the United States has lost all control of its allies and its partnerships in Africa. But this is the opening Russia needed to try getting into a country to undercut the United States. That's something Russia has not really been able to do yet, is to completely undercut the United States. They've been able to do it with France and Mali. France failed in Mali, and so has the UN, and Russia exposed that. Don't get me wrong, guys. I am not a fan of what Russia's doing in Africa. I think what they're doing is taking advantage of these third world countries and trying to rebuild the Soviet Union or trying to get access to the Atlantic Ocean and the southern parts of Europe to have Europe surrounded from a southern flank. I don't see that I don't think it's that crazy to realize, considering they've managed to kick out the UN and the French and Mali. Nonetheless, if they manage to get into Niger, that would be a massive move for Russia, and that would be extremely detrimental for the drone programs in Africa and the U.S. Special Forces operating in Africa. Now, personally, I don't think it'll get to that point, but at this point, who knows what's going to happen? We thought Mr. Prigozhin and Putin were never going to be friends again, and they're both currently speaking at this African summit. So anyway, I'm about to post this video. Make sure you guys comment on the video down below. Leave your opinions and let me know what you guys think. Everybody watch what happens to Niger, and everybody pay attention with who Russia's going to be working with within Africa, because who knows what's going to happen next, and who knows what country might fall next to Wagner, and they're going to be totally dependent on Wagner and Russia. Anyway, that is my opinion. Hope you guys enjoyed this video, and we will see you later.